Hey guys, welcome to the intro to our first episode of the podcast. My name is Phil.
I'm Chris. So yeah, this is our first episode. What we talk about is, our gaming history.
Yep. We also touch on how we came to name the podcast.
And then the rest of it is just a rant about achievements, basically.
Yeah, because that is kind of our main shtick. We focus on achievements and we're weird and then it becomes not fun anymore. It's a game.
Yeah, but we still love video games and we're going to continue to play them for the rest of our lives. So
Until we die.
Yep, so I hope you enjoy the first episode.
All right, thanks guys. Hey everyone, welcome to the first ever episode of the This Isn't Fun Anymore podcast. My name is Phil.
And I'm Chris. And this is a podcast basically about why we love and hate video games.
Yeah, it's a perfect mix of, obviously we're going to be talking about what's new, what we're playing. It's just going to kind of be everything and anything video games, how we feel about it. And you may be wondering, why do I give a shit about what two people I've never met before care about video games?
And just don't ask yourself that question.
Yeah, just
pretend.
Yeah,
pretend you didn't say that.
Yeah, cross that question out of your mind and then just listen and be learned. You may, and I won't say may because I had at a height of 40 viewers, but you may know me from 40 quarters or 440 quarters. It was a very, very, very short-lived YouTube channel.
You ran out of quarters?
I ran out of quarters where I reviewed games, basically games on a budget. The 440 quarters comes out to be $20. So it's essentially games anything less than $20. Chris, where were our viewers might know you from?
Outside their bedroom windows.
A little creepy.
No, I don't know. They would not know me from anywhere. How about that? I did one episode of 440 quarters.
Yeah.
So they probably know me from that, right? Because all of our viewers are going to be carryover.
Oh, God. That. Yeah, especially because I'm definitely not going to be promoting this on the channel. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, like I said, I don't want people to know who I am, so I don't want them to know where I'm from. Like, if I don't want them to put this... Like, I don't want them to play this in some sort of trial later on as evidence to a systemic problem.
You just want to be Chris.
Yeah, I'm just Chris. I'm your co-host forever.
Yeah, okay. I can work with this.
They don't need to know where I'm from. Okay. I can talk about my video game background. How about that? Just you know.
So let's obviously this is the first inaugural episode. A lot of people don't know what we're doing. Let's give them a sense of why we feel that we should be talking about video games. Have you been playing video games your entire life?
That's leading the witness. Yes, I've been playing video games my entire life. Actually, just today when I was walking around the house trying to find a good place to record, up in the attic, there was an Intellivision sitting right there by the staircase.
I've never played an Intellivision.
You've never played it?
No, I started. Long story short, I was in the middle of moving with my parents, and we were moving to a new house that they were having built. But the neighbors that I lived with had an Atari. But other than that, I'd only welcomed into the world the NES.
Well, that was
my brother.
Well, you're a little bit younger than me, but that was like my console too. Like that was the first one when I was alive. That was like a thing.
Yeah.
But my parents and my cousin, who's older, were into video games before that. So we have everything. We have like Intellivision. We have all the other things that I can't think of right now, but I still have them around my house.
ColecoVision. You got
ColecoVision. Yeah. Just the Pong, which is just Pong.
Oh, just the paddle, the little rotating paddle that goes right into the TV.
Well, Intellivision has the weird little rotating thing too, and it's got like it looks like a VCR remote or something.
Yeah. I mean, obviously those are things I've only seen in the movies, in the movie pictures. I started with my brother, who's older than me, kind of paved the way. He got started in video games before me. He's about 5-6 years older than me. So when I was able at the age to play video games, I was already in the NES generation. So I missed the demolition of Atari and the downhill of the video game market.
Which is fine though. I mean,
that's a great launching off point because I really started at the best starting point. Like if I would have started at Atari or ColecoVision, and then I would have lived through that. I'm like, oh, video games kind of suck. But I got to start with Super Mario Brothers 3, and then move on from there. So it's like immediately my eyes are open. But then from there I went. I was a Nintendo kid, so I'll go NES to Super NES to Nintendo 64. My brother got PlayStation. I got a Dreamcast.
Good.
Then went to he had a PS2. I kept my Dreamcast. Then original Xbox to 360 to PlayStation 3.
Yeah. That's kind of a sideways step, but you did buy it after the 360.
Yes, I did buy the PlayStation because there were too many games that only came out for PlayStation 3 that I wanted to play.
Right.
And I didn't want to just be like lost in one system. Obviously, like I play most of my gaming on 360, but like I always wanted to play like the Uncharted's. I wanted to play Little Big Planet and Heavy Rain and Beyond and God of War and those games
and
that
some,
obviously
Japanese RPGs too that you like.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite genre. Yeah. But like plus I feel like the PlayStation 3 and I don't want to start off with this
because the problem is too that they don't know, like you're kind of overcompensating right now because you play a lot in the 360 and I know you as like a 360 guy and I'm the same way, and so like you're trying to kind of promote PlayStation, be like we're not anti-PlayStation at all. We just have drifted towards Xbox more. Yeah,
and kind of the idea for the podcast kind of came about. The This Isn't Fun Anymore came about because of achievements on the 360. Me and Chris are both achievement. I would say whores, but I'll say hunters because it makes it sound like we're not weirdos. But when in reality, it's we play a game and we play it till death till it is not fun anymore.
Right, and it's kind of ruined video games for us because we care so much. Because we like achievements so much, it's ruined our lives.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's, I feel like, is kind of the trend with the both of us when we're talking about video games. When we're talking about the stuff that we love and why we like video games and video games we like, it always turns it into us complaining about it.
Yeah.
And that's just like, this isn't fun anymore because it's like, we like it so much, we get focused on one thing until it becomes a chore. Like, until it's too hard. Like, I don't know when was the last time I played a game before I looked at all the achievements.
PlayStation.
That's why you went to PlayStation?
What's weird, though, and I'll get back to the achievement thing, but just like a quick sidestep is, like, I was playing so many crappy games for the 360. I know you'll give me crap about it because I purposely play bad games, or quote-unquote bad games, to get achievements.
Yeah.
But for some reason, trophies mean nothing to me. So I can play a PlayStation game, and even though it still gives me the bleep, it still pops up in the top corner saying like you unlocked the trophy for this game. I could care less if I get 100% of those. I'm literally just playing the game for the visceral feeling of playing a game, and I can, I guess, mind at ease. I don't have to look anything up. If I miss something, I miss something. No big deal. So I can play those games and kind of, I guess, go back to an old day of when I used to play games and not care.
Yeah.
When on the 360, I say I do that. Like, I'm just going to enjoy this for the game. But then, like, the longer the game is,
your brain kicks
the more I panic, and I'm just like, I don't want to play an 80-hour game and miss an achievement that's at hour 15 and then have to play the game a second time just to get that one. And it's screwed me over so many times.
No, I totally understand, and I want to talk about this. This is probably going to be what the topic is for this entire first episode.
That's fine.
But I'm going to backtrack for a second and talk about just the consoles I had growing up.
Okay.
Which was very similar. Like, Nintendo was king when we were kids.
Yeah.
You know, I had the NES, Super NES. Then obviously I also had Genesis. Like, we played like Sonic and games like that.
Streets of Rage.
So yeah, Streets of Rage. Toe Jam and Earl was on that. I was a huge Toe Jam and Earl fan. And I've pretty much had like all the consoles for all the sides. Like I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but honestly, like we had like the 32X.
Oh, nice.
And like Sega CD.
That's
and, like, stuff.
Is that the Philips 32X? Like the really shitty one?
No,
or that's the Sega.
The 32X was like an expansion pack that you added onto one of the Genesis.
Yeah, you just had like a bunch of peripherals that just plugged into the next one.
Right, and there was like CD drives and all this other stuff. Yeah, they did sort of build up.
Yeah.
And then like I said, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. Then I also went with Dreamcast. I had PS1 at the time. Barely played it. I only really played. I think Tomb Raider was on PS1. It was an exclusive, and I played Twisted Metal.
Yeah,
I really like Twisted Metal.
If you're comparing like the PlayStation 1 to Dreamcast, they were miles apart.
No, Dreamcast was like I played Dreamcast every day. Like,
Dreamcast.
I still got my Dreamcast.
Power Stone?
I have so many of those little memory card units with the little screen on it.
VMUs?
Yeah, because with all the Sonic games especially, you could then take those out and you had like little Tamagotchi-like games.
I remember those.
Yeah, and you'd have to
I
feed them
remember
do stuff.
bringing them to school to, like, I can't remember what the game's called. I'll look it up later, but it's not about. But there's literally, like what you said, it's like a Tamagotchi. But this one, like, if you kept it fed and if you kept it, it would level up on your VMU, and then when you put it back in, all of a sudden you have like a level 20 character that you can play as. I remember taking it to school and trying to play it like nonstop. But the problem is those are stupid watch batteries.
Yep, and they die.
And they die. And
as a kid, if those things die, you're like, well, I just got to start over. You're not like, oh, I got to take this to a watch store.
Yeah, these watch batteries are not, it's not just like, I need to go talk my mom into getting a AA battery.
Yeah.
Watch batteries were not just things you just found.
Right.
So it's like, oh, okay.
That's the thing, too. Like I said, like as a kid, the concept of this has a battery that can be changed, it's just kind of lost. Like if it's not a AA or AAA or one of those things,
it requires a screwdriver.
Yeah,
I'm out.
No, yeah,
yeah, I'm out.
I'm gonna go play another game.
I'm gonna go get a watch screwdriver, which I just, of course, always kept in my backpack for no reason, and then I will change.
Cool like that.
Yeah, it was real cool. It's real cool sitting in class playing my VMU, and everyone's like, "What the hell's that?" I'm like, "Shut up! I'm feeding my Pokemon."
Shut up, man.
But I understand now, before we get our one hateful comment, that there wasn't a Pokemon on the Dreamcast. It's just,
that's Emily shouting at her computer right now.
Yeah. Should we use their names?
Yep. Anything that's wrong about Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't know. Was Emily big? Well, that's why are we talking about Emily and
I don't
Caitlin
know,
right now?
because they're going to enjoy us talking about them on the podcast.
That's true. I won't open this beer in front of the mic.
No, we can't. We'll just pause for a second.
Yeah.
Phil is taking his medicine.
It sounds like that.
Yes, it might sound like a bottle opening.
Yeah. Chug.
Yep.
Should we get back to the achievement?
Oh well, I mean, we can. I don't need to talk about the consoles that I have.
Do you want to finish?
I honestly, like I said,
you want to finish? No, finish the consoles.
I can't talk about it without sounding like I'm bragging. But honestly, we had like everything all the time.
No, that's fine. Then it'll give you more freaking clout when we're talking about games. If you've had all the consoles, you can't be like, I had a fucking 32X and I had a Nintendo 64 and I can definitively say the Nintendo 64 is better.
Yeah, and I had like all the handheld things too. Like I didn't even totally remember at the time. I had like Linksys.
Oh my god. And I remember I had 2 handhelds in my life. I had the Sega Game Gear. I had 3 games for it.
Game Gear was the
Sonic, awesome. I had Shining Force,
yep.
And I had another game that I never played. It was probably shitty.
Yeah.
Shining Force was amazing. I love Shining Force on the Genesis. Do you have it?
In that room right there, I have a box of like 4,000 Game Gear games. Like
I'm going to leave the podcast.
Yeah.
But then I also had a Game Boy Color. And I remember I had a Pokemon. I think it was Pokemon Blue. Yeah. I had like a couple, crappy puzzle games and whatever. But those were the only 2 handheld systems I had.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much I actually played them. I remember playing them pretty distinctly, but it's like, anytime I would play with my handheld, it was me sitting here in my house playing the handheld games because I like the handheld games or whatever.
Yeah.
Only like now and then, like when I travel, I'd bring my Game Boy, things like that.
Yeah, see, mine was strictly like we're driving to Grandpa's kind of situation, and so I'd have my little handheld. Otherwise, I rarely played the handhelds at home. Yeah, they'd really have to grab me. Like Pokemon was obviously different because at the time that came out, that was a thing. Everyone did it, and you traded with your friends. So I, of course, was playing Pokemon laying on my bed.
Well, you got to catch them all.
You got to catch them all. I did.
You got them all?
I got them all. I use, the glitch. The famous, missing number 52 glitch, but...
The problem is I got car sick really easily, so I couldn't play games in the car.
Okay.
Which really took a lot of my gaming time away from me. Like, I'm very bitter about this. I just realized that right now.
You want to go back. I
could have been playing so much more video games.
You could have
I've wasted my life.
I feel like you're making up for it now. To be honest. We're adults that play too many video games.
Yeah, so to fast forward a little bit now, right now I'd still have Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and the Xbox One. The Xbox One is the only next-gen console I have right now. I've slowly there's sort of like a pyramid of...
Yeah.
Reducing the number of consoles I have. One, because exclusives are getting rarer and rarer.
They're a thing of the past because every company wants to make money. So besides your distinct like Halo and your Gears of War for Xbox, and Uncharted and God of War for PlayStation. There's not going to be a huge list, and obviously it's still a relatively new system. It's been out, what is it, 6 months, 7 months? When did you get it? A year? Has it been a year?
It's in November, right?
Yeah.
November.
Yeah, I remember winter when it came out, and we came over here to play.
Yeah.
But it's still relatively new compared to the console cycle of, like, the 360 was, like, 13 years, or it felt like.
Yeah.
So, only a year of the Xbox One.
It was 9 years, but yeah. It's not just that, though. It's like you said, companies want to make money. Third-party developers basically just release their game on all the consoles. And it's one of those things that even exclusives are just timed exclusive now.
Which is what we should kind of, like, that can kind of be a segue into our first news topic, which essentially be that timed exclusive debacle with Tomb Raider.
Are we calling it a debacle?
I'm going to call it a debacle.
It didn't last long enough to be a real controversy. Because it all got cleared up in the same day. It's like people heard it, made assumptions about it, kind of ran with it. Not that they weren't purposely misled, but it's like the first chance... Phil Spector, that's his name, right? Got a chance. He said, no, it's just a time exclusive. It's just for 2015.
Didn't he say at the press conference, like the official like press conference is when he said, we have an exclusive and it's Tomb Raider.
But I think he said...
And then he only said the, like, oh, it's a time exclusive when they were doing, like, interviews. When it was, like, the one-on-one kind of aspect. Like, he presented it as, like, a broad, like, hey, everybody, Tomb Raider is now ours. And then stepped back, and then when people were like, holy shit, I can't believe they got Tomb Raider, and then people were kind of asking about it, he goes, oh, whoa. I didn't mean that. I meant a timed exclusive.
But I still think that's fair enough. I think he shouldn't have done it that way. Obviously, he should have been more obvious. But you know how those press conferences is. You know how those big, like Apple event sort of things are. All the language is always like, this is going to change the world forever. And
we added a new key on the keyboard.
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, this is a timed exclusive. Even though it might be, you can be like, oh, this is exclusive for 2015, blah, 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 and then later on talk about the details and things like that. Like, because he cleared it up so fast, I think it's okay. Everybody can't wait for it to be, like, a huge deal that
I'm just thinking, like, in the world of the intranets, like, I remember that when, obviously, like you said, it's the same day, but, like, the hour that hit, the anger, and obviously it's the internet, so it's nothing but anger and hatred of everyone just being like, oh my god, I can't believe, like, it went from, like, it ran the gamut of, I can't believe we got Tomb Raider, to, I hope you guys burn in hell for getting Tomb Raider, to then finally being like, oh no, he lied, it's a timed exclusive, Xbox sucks, they're trying to steal our money again.
But that's kind of the internet's fault, because honestly, so many people just react to headlines. They don't actually read the articles, they don't like watch videos, they don't respond to the content of stuff. They just see the headline or hear somebody say something, and then they comment right away.
Yeah.
This internet,
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, this one internet site, I forgot who it was, like this year or early last year, did an experiment like that where they had a headline.
I remember
inflammatory,
that.
And the content, the whole body of the story was like, this is a test to see how
I think I got linked to that on Facebook at some point. Yeah.
Who's going to actually read the story before they comment? And all the comments were like, I can't believe this is happening. Why are they doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And it was all just a lie to see if people that commented actually read the articles, which it seems like they don't.
People don't have time to read that 3 or 4 paragraphs beneath a headline. It's just get your visceral reaction, spew out as many swears and derogatory and racist comments that you can at once,
right? And
then move on to the next one. Right. So you can read 20 headlines and you can reply to all 20 headlines saying, like, you know, Obama's wrong, and then
let's not get political, okay? Let's save that for episode 2.
Yeah, okay.
Well, no, this similar thing happened. Like I noticed this yesterday. Even new game came out, and it had a bad title and it had bad cover art.
What game are we talking about?
I'll tell you in a second, but those two things are important because just based on that, when they threw the achievement list up on one of the websites, they just threw the achievement list up. There wasn't a description of the game. There wasn't a real description of the game. There was just the name and the cover art. All the comments were like, this is the worst thing ever. I can't believe Xbox is coming out with this. Like, they're just throwing garbage on their console, blah, 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 blah. Like, some of the other things like, oh, this looks really fun, said no one ever. That was one of the comments, right? And there was no information.
Fibbage?
There was it's fibbage, right? And so I was like, I looked into the game because I did the same thing where I saw it. The name is awful because it's Fibbage, and it's like the hysterical fibbing party game. It's got like this really long title. It's stupid.
Which, is it an actual board game? Because if it's a board game, then they can obviously call it whatever they want. But I haven't looked into obviously anything besides knowing what the Xbox game is. I don't know if it's like an actual board game that they just converted like a Carcassonne or.
It is not a board game. Okay. It was an Amazon Fire TV exclusive game. And so it's not, you don't play it with a controller, you actually play with your cell phone or a tablet or a computer or anything, because it's supposed to be like a party game. If you use it on like your Amazon TV, it's
everyone can see it.
And you don't have controllers and things like that. So you use your phone because the whole idea of the game is it's a trivia game. It's made by the people that made You Don't Know Jack.
Okay.
Which I'm a huge fan of. Like, I love trivia games. I love You Don't Know Jack. I've played them all growing up. I played them on the computer. I have like all the iterations of it. And I played the 361. So I like them. I like what they're doing. So I saw that they were the ones that made the game. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to watch a video. So what it is it's a trivia game where it asks you a trivia question, right? With no answers or anything. There's a blank as the answer. And everybody inputs an answer on their phone. A fake answer. So something that sounds right but isn't right.
Give me an example.
I wish I could give you a better example. But it's
But is it like personal? Is it just like
no, it's
every
like
day I eat blank for breakfast?
No. It's a real trivia question. It would be you're playing a normal trivia game, but all the multiple choice answers are made up of what your friends came up with.
And then you pick what you think the answer
is.
And
there's one correct answer that they hide in there.
Okay.
So you can play 2 to 8 people, right? So if you're playing with 8 people, there's 9 multiple choice answers on the screen. 8 of which are made up of lies that your friends made. Yeah. And one's the real thing.
What if one of your friends guesses the real thing, then the number's reduced to 8? You're required to pick a lie.
So this is the way it shows up.
I should stop interrupting.
No, it's totally fine. I tried to explain this game to somebody last night and I did a horrible job. So I'm probably going to do the same thing. So it's like, okay, in the year 1603, like, Thomas Van blah 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 invented something called blank, and you got to come up with it, right? So it's a trivia question. There's a right answer, and it's like, okay, now input a lie. And so on your phone, then you input something. So you're like sex machine, like swing, like all these ridiculous things that you can put up. Yeah. And then once everybody inputs an answer, it puts all those things that everybody said plus the right answer on the screen, and then everybody has to guess. Everybody puts in their guess of what they think the answer is. So if your lie is what somebody else chose, you get points for that. Okay. And then if you get the right answer,
a game similar to
you
this
get points for that.
Yeah.
So, the way to actually play it is to
know your
say something
stuff
that sounds right but isn't correct. And if you do input the correct answer, it'll tell you. It's like, no, that's the truth. You got to put in a lie.
Oh, okay, so you can't put in the truth.
You can't put in the truth.
You can't prove, like, look at me, I know everything.
No, right. If you're like
just
an idiot that
you'd save that for the answer.
Right.
Because you still want people to guess your thing.
There's a two-pronged aspect to the game. It's one, you're trying to get people to guess your answer, and you're trying to guess the right answer yourself.
Okay.
So, and it's a lot of fun because of the whole, like, blah, 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 blank situation. You get to input anything. It's kind of like a Cards Against Humanity situation where it's kind of like Mad Libs, because you're trying to get your friends to laugh, and it's also like a funny thing, because usually the answers are skewed towards a funny response. Like the blanks are usually
so it's not going to be like, and this is just a really stupid one. It's not going to be like, what is the Microsoft operating system? Like, it's not going to be that, because everyone, like, it's going to be something that's kind of like the answer is really sex swing.
Right.
So then people are laughing and they're just like, who put in sex swing?
Okay, here's one of the examples that I actually do remember now. It said in the Nintendo DS operating manual, it had the unfortunate category of blank dick, which is DIC. So it was like, what category?
Big dick.
So that was the thing. So everybody, it's like you get to put all these things. It's like it's supposed to be funny. So that it gives you the opportunity to have a joke answer. And
then people aren't immediately ruling out like the answer is like .bmp.
Right. So it was like the answer was touch dick, which is just as funny as a fake thing that people would come up with.
Okay.
And another thing too is so after everybody guesses and stuff. You have the choice to like people's answers. So once the round's over and it's going through the loading, going to the next thing, going to the category choosing, you can be like, "Oh, that answer was funny. I like that." And
then you get more points.
And then at the end of the game, the people that gets the most likes get like the thumbs up trophy or something.
Oh, okay. So
it's like if you just want to be there,
I will say it's a weird game to have on the Xbox. I feel like that's a great, like you said, it's a great party game, and it initially was set for the Amazon Fire. Like I feel like that's perfect. Everyone uses their cell phone
because no controllers, party game, very simple, very casual.
I feel like that's just a weird setup, like for an Xbox One. I know that's obviously supposed to be the entertainment system. You're supposed to have that plugged into your cable. It's supposed to be plugged into your TV, so it kind of makes sense. But I guess when I think of game, I think of something completely different.
Right, and it wasn't developed for the Xbox or anything, which is why I'm fine with it. If they developed it directly for that and they used this sort of weird cell phone thing, it'd be a little bit like, okay, I don't know. But because it was for that and they just ported it over, like, if it's easy enough for them to just port it over, like, the more games available on the console, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And another fun thing is, too, is, like, you can... So what it does is it gives you on the screen, it gives you the sort of code for whatever room you're in. So if you input that code on your phone, and then you're in that game. So you can play from basically anywhere. So like what I wanted to do is when we do the 24-hour game marathon, we can play with people that are watching. They can just input the game code in. They can be in our game. The questions are all on your phone too, and you can type them all in. There would be a slight lag if they were watching the video, but it's only like a second or something. So we can play with the viewers then.
We shouldn't hold up our answer and just be like, well, it's touch dick, and then they'd be like, I know that's not right.
Well, no, it's all timed with them anyways. It's perfectly timed with people's answers. Like, we're not going to be able to guess what the answer is until everybody inputs everything. You can't find out what the answer is until everybody inputs their answer.
I gotcha. Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I thought that'd be a fun thing. So yeah, so we're planning on doing the 24-hour Extra Life.
Yeah, so for, I guess to catch people up, last year for 40 quarters, which was the YouTube thing that me and Chris essentially ran. Chris did an episode, I pretty much did all of them.
No, yeah, it was your thing, I just guest spotted on one.
Yeah, because I was busy, and that's also kind of how the name came about, because... And long story short, it was essentially like, I love playing video games, and I will still always love playing video games, even when I'm older. But the issue was, like, the recording of video games, the doing a review of it, and I also set up myself a time frame, because obviously I wanted to come out with the video so often. It just became like I was playing video games for a chore, and you never want that to be an issue, because if a game is something that you're not into initially... you want to give it some more time to either get into it or play something else. But if you're set in stone, you're like, I have to play this game for 2 weeks, and you're either super busy for the 2 weeks, or you play it and you're just like, I freaking hate this game, and I don't want to play it anymore. It was still like, I have to play every 2 weeks, and it just become a chore. And then obviously I'd just be like,
this isn't fun anymore.
This channel, this 40 quarters isn't fun anymore because it's becoming a chore. But anyway... I did the 24-hour marathon, which if you're not aware of it, it's Extra Life. Is that the actual company that does it?
All I know is, Extra Life. Phil is actually wearing the T-shirt from last year.
I should just look down. Yeah. So it's for the Children's Hospitals Network, which is the actual charity event. But Extra Life is a company that runs it. And what they do is essentially one day a year, usually around October, November-ish, they run a 24-hour marathon. You register... and you essentially put yourself up as like, I'm going to be playing video games for 24 hours. 40 Quarters did it. I did it with some help. Chris was there. Some of other friends were there. We essentially just ran a live stream of us playing video games for 24 straight hours. No sleep, no leaving.
25 hours because it was on the Daylight Savings Day.
God damn you, Daylight Savings. Yeah, 25 hours. And essentially is you just raise money and you pick which children's hospital you want to donate to. It's a really great cause, and we'll definitely do it again this year.
But people sponsor you. It's like if you're doing like a 5K or something, you have people sponsor you, and they're like, oh, if you do it, we'll give you $20, we'll give you $10, and you try to reach a goal. This year our goal is $500, which is what we had last year.
Yep. We actually reached, amazing, like I don't want to just turn this into a spot on...
No, honestly, I don't even have the information. If they wanted to go to the website and donate now, it's not even set up yet. So.
Yeah, but last year we just got a huge... I didn't think we'd hit anything, because 40 Quarters was completely unknown. Really, we had like one friend of ours who was, I guess, kind of internet known.
You got to know, he's very famously internet known. He's going to listen to this.
He's going to listen to this. I'm sorry. We have one friend who's super famous internet known, and he kind of, I guess, dragged with him some viewers who were super supportive, who stayed on and watched 12, 13, 14 hours straight, who helped us through video games, who's just like, you gotta do this in this video game.
Somebody like fell asleep, came back, like, you know, because we started at midnight or whatever, they went to sleep, came back, started watching this again. Somebody like went to work, and came back because they still were interested.
And it was crazy because obviously, like, I wasn't set up for an actual good stream. I had a shitty computer, it looked awful, but people still like tuned in, they support us. Anyway, what I'm getting to is that we eventually, at the end, when we were running out of time, when we had like 2 hours left, we were just getting freaking people supporting us left and right. Like, I pledged $20, I pledged $50, I pledged $100. We ended up going over $500, which I thought was a high goal for us when I set it up, because obviously only a couple of my friends knew about it, my family knew about it. They all had already pledged their money before the event even took off. And so I think before we started the event, we had something like $200, and I'm just like, oh, if we can get to $300, that would be amazing. But in reality, what it came out to is it just like everyone gave us support. We ended up hitting like, I want to say like 700, something crazy, like 600, $700.
It was well over their goal.
Yeah.
And like you said, it all came in the last couple hours, which is, I mean, it's like the prime time viewing time, but also remember there was that problem with the website where somebody hacked into it and messed up everything.
Yeah.
So the first 10, 12 hours, people couldn't even donate if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, obviously you're not going to get a lot of people watching at 4 o'clock in the morning while we're playing, you know, our 90th game of Halo or Splinter Cell or whatever we were playing at that time. But yeah, we're going to do another one this year.
Yeah, I think the third week of October is when we're planning on doing it. I already registered and everything, so if there is a link, I will put it in the description and also on the website. We have a website, which is thisisn'tfunnyanymorepodcast.com. So it'll basically...
We actually got that website. No one else.
No one else. Guys, you'll be surprised to hear we didn't have to like pay somebody off that already owned the domain.
You'd think, like, that's a pretty popular name for a podcast. It's definitely not wordy at all, and people are definitely going to know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll plug all that stuff at the end.
Yeah. Like, that's not what this was supposed to be. That just kind of organically happened when we were talking about stuff.
Yeah.
But also, the whole thing about it, we were talking about video games becoming a chore because of doing the YouTube channel. And that's what achievements have become also. Like, your gaming experience, your gaming experience is like been really, really bad the last couple of years because you care about achievements, right? Because you care about like completion scores, and all that stuff.
So real quick, and this is not another plug,
okay?
But there's a website out there that me and you are both members of.
I wouldn't have problems just giving them free promotion.
Yeah, there's a website. It's called TrueAchievements.com. It is strictly an Xbox 360 website. Xbox in general. Xbox One, 360, and they do Windows Phone.
No, but they also do. They have
a True Trophies.
For
PlayStation. Yeah. But anyway, the True Achievements was initially what started it. And without me and Chris even talking to each other, we both joined just haphazardly. It turned out it was a day
apart.
A day apart, we stumbled upon the same website, and this is what makes.
I was going to say, it was both of our 3-year website anniversary. Mine was the August 18th, and yours was 19th.
Yeah,
and we was both 3 years, the same year, 1 day apart, and we weren't even friends at that point. We knew each other, but we never talked about stuff.
No, we certainly weren't talking about achievements.
So, how did you find it, by the way?
I'll try and keep all my stories to a nice minimum. Initially, when I got a 360, I was in college. I didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a reason to essentially extend the life of my games. I had 3 games at the time. I had Condemned. I had the game that came with the system, which was Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Forza 2. And I had Rainbow Six Vegas 1, because that was a game that me and my roommates played.
Yeah.
When I went home for the summer, I obviously, like, there's no need to play Rainbow Six Vegas because they're all doing shit. I have a job. Like, we could never coordinate anything. So I had essentially 2 games because I don't care about Forza that much. But so I'd beat a game and I'd be like, well, I don't have money to go buy a new game.
Yeah.
So it just became a thing like, oh, I'm at, and just like haphazardly, you know, search through your page, and I was like, I'm at 64% of the achievements on here.
Yeah.
Let me just try and get them all.
Yeah.
And so it just happened through, like, I'd search online, and I'd be like, how the hell do you get this achievement? And it'd lead me to, you know, a bunch of different websites, and I eventually stumbled upon True Achievements, which I just felt did it the best.
Yeah.
But what I want to get at is, like, what made it become, I guess, a habit or something crazy OCD-like is because True Achievements has statistics.
Stats. Its whole thing is stats. And, like, it gives you statistics of, okay, so their kind of gimmick is... Too lousy, sorry. So we're going to have to do the whole thing because I was watching it and, like, every time we talk...
Yeah. We get excited.
We're getting excited. We're getting louder.
So
we should, and, you know, this doesn't help the volume at all.
No.
So what True Achievements does is it gives you stats, and its sort of gimmick is, it's like, how much is this achievement actually worth?
Yeah.
Not all 10-point achievements should actually be worth 10 points, because what if it's the hardest achievement in the game and only 3 people in the world have it? It should be worth more like 1,000 points, right? So they give a new number to that achievement based on how many other people have the achievement. So you have statistics from, like, your percentage of the game you've completed, like... you get a TA ratio, which is
how hard
your achievements are. Like, how hard is your achievement based on the actual number?
Yep.
So, like, my TA ratio, which is higher than the average but lower than my friends, which is like 1.68 or something.
Yeah, mine's
so
like 1.8.
that means for every achievement that I have, it's the true achievement score difficulty basically is 1.68. So it's slightly harder. It's like 1.5 games harder than
than just an average one.
And you also get, like, games completed and, like, all this
I think
stuff.
Like the one thing that True Achievements really does well, and that it's, again, I don't want to just turn this into like an hour-long plug for it,
which is what it is.
Which is what it's becoming, is just that you can compare yourself. It can be a competitive thing, where depending if you have a lot of friends that are on Xbox, you can essentially compare notes, and you can be like, I've completed more, and you've completed less, and you have a higher score, and I have a lower score. Whatever, that's all great. But for me, it wasn't so much about competing. It was a personal thing where it's just like, there's the only one that I really care about is total percentage of games completed. It's just a percentage of every game that you've ever registered an achievement in. They break it down to, like, out of all the games you've played, you've gotten a total of 40% of the achievements. And my goal is always just like, I want to get as high of a percent. I want people to...
The goal is 100, but the problem is there's so many games with achievements that are unobtainable.
Yeah.
Which is the vein of our existence.
Well, yeah. So. I mean, like, I knew that I'd never hit 100 just because there just isn't enough time in the world for me to go back to every old game I played. But it was just one of those things where just, like, to me, it was, even when I knew you and you were my only friend in my friends list, I knew that I was also never going to catch up to you. You had played more games. I knew that relatively speaking, I was never going to be on the leaderboards at number 1 at anything, so I didn't think of it more as a competitive thing. It was more just like, I have these 10 games and I'm only at 50%. I need to go back and I need to play these 10 games and I need to get these higher. And then obviously, it just became a thing like, every game I play, I got to get as close to 100% for that game as possible, so then it raises my overall score.
But see... Not only did it do that, but that's the problem, is it changed the way you played games. It wasn't about completing the games that you had. It was getting games that could be completed. It was getting games with easy achievements, with fast completions, with things like that. I mean, you can't pretend that's not where you are now. When you play, like, Shrek the Third,
I haven't,
You Draw, like, those games, those games are just for completion.
So, in my defense, which obviously we'll cut out because it is not relevant, but here's in my
I'm the same way too. But I still try to play new games. That's the only difference, is that you're trying to play old games. You buy used games. You buy them,
Yeah. So, like, it all goes back to kind of like the 440 quarters wasn't a gimmick. It was really just how I kind of play video games. Because I've never been, like, whatever, where I just feel like dropping $100 for a
You don't stand in line at midnight to buy a new game.
A line at midnight because it's just like multiplayer doesn't mean anything to me. Like, that's kind of like what I feel like the reason you get a game
right away
for the most part is like, all my friends have it, I want to play multiplayer with them right away. I have like 4 friends that have an Xbox 360, and besides you, you're really the only one that I game with that I in person contact with. But anyway, so I always got games that were $20, so I'd always be behind the curve in terms of that. I initially, because I was running the website and I was super optimistic that I was going to love this the 40 quarters, and I was going to constantly. So I'd go to eBay and I would buy every single game I came across that I didn't own, and I got shitty games because I was like, this is going to be a great review. People are going to love seeing me play Open Season on the 360. People are going to love seeing me play Bayonetta. People are going to and so I just get these games and I'd play these garbage games. And now I'm at the point where it's like, I'm not just going to buy garbage games for garbage game's sake, because it's just like, I'm no longer playing games for an audience, I'm playing them for myself, but I also still have all these games in my collection, and because it's just like, I don't want to waste them, I'm going to play games like Brave, A Warrior's Tale, and I'm going to play games like Super FIFA 94.
I understand your logic, but that's the thing. It's like I said, it's ruined video games for you because you only played the shitty games. You haven't played the good games yet.
No.
You've got BioShock, you got Arkham Asylum, you got all these
City.
other... Yeah, well, I mean, and you just started Mass Effect 3, which I don't know if is on the list with the other ones, but it's like, it's these big, huge games that you're excited about, that you like, that you know are good, that you've never played, that you haven't gotten to because you haven't gotten all the achievements.
Yeah, no,
Open Season.
I admit that I have a problem.
Right.
Twofold, though. The ones like the Batman and BioShock, the games that are purely single player, I'm also a very much a pessimist about how long I think they're going to keep the 360 up and running. Initially, they said when it was 3 years, 5 years, something like that, after the Xbox One came out. I think it was 3.
Yeah, I think it was...
They said that they'd keep the 360 up and running.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh man, the single player games like BioShock is 100% single player. There's no online. Obviously BioShock 2 is different, but like BioShock Infinite's the same way, and Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. These are all games that I know are going to be great, but I know they are only single player games. So that when they eventually shut down the 360 and I can no longer play shitty games like Shadowrun and the multiplayer of Kane and Lynch, I know that those games are no longer going to work, and I can actually mentally check those achievements off, I'm never going to earn them. Then I can go and I can be like, I can still 100% BioShock because it's not online, and so I can play it. And granted, TA won't work at that aspect. If they're no longer letting you sign in to live, it'll be completely pointless. It'll still be a mental I can still finish BioShock at this moment. I can't finish Kane and Lynch.
No. But here's the thing. First of all, this sort of multiplayer focus thing has been more of a recent trend for you. So you have been playing bad games without playing good games for a little while. But also, here's the thing. I think you should at least do one and one. Do one bad game that you're doing because you're trying to finish it, and one good game that you can play on your own at your own speed.
Yes.
Because there's two things. First of all, you're never going to be able to catch up with the good games then.
No.
Because you have so many bad games. And, you only have so much time, too. What if your life changes? What if the apocalypse happens and there's no more power?
That'd be pretty great.
Yeah, well, you want to be able to have already played the games. You want to get the good games out of the way, and while you're waiting for the new good games to be cheaper, you should play the bad games.
Logically, your argument makes a lot of sense.
But because logic has nothing to do with this, because it's all about obsession
I'm getting better. I will say that.
You've gotten over the hump of stop buying awful games. So there's that. That's the first step.
Well, and plus,
after admitting it.
And really and I'll just break it down like this, is that I have a lot of games going at once. And I have them going for different reasons. I have a game every Sunday. I play a game with I made a friend who's essentially in the UK. So every Sunday, I
think he's probably in the UK, not just essentially. He's all
I think I don't know if he's in the UK. He might
just
be
his TA thing says.
Yeah. He's in. I mean, I really don't know where.
Okay,
I know he uses. Forget it. Doesn't matter. I have a game every Sunday that I play with him. Right now we're on Grand Theft Auto. We're both TA members. We're both just we want to finish multiplayer. I have a game with you that we're now starting every Tuesday,
which will be over by this Tuesday.
Which we'll beat a multiplayer game this Tuesday. But I have a game with you every Tuesday. I have a game with my fiance, who will soon be my wife, that we're playing right now. It's Lego games.
Yeah.
Usually we just play a co-op game. I have a game that essentially I can play when no one else is watching. It doesn't matter. And the reason I preface this is because I also have a game that my fiance is very interested in just watching. Mass Effect, she loves the Mass Effect series. she wants to see Mass Effect. So I can really only play that when we're both ready to be attentive to the series.
Yeah.
If she's going to be out of town for 12 hours, I would feel bad advancing in the game and she's not there to watch it.
Yeah.
So then I kind of have a fallback game where it's just like, she clearly doesn't care about this, or it's a smaller game, or it's not something like that. So I have a bunch of games going at the same time. The problem is that
the game that you play by yourself, though, needs to be a good game. It shouldn't be...
But the problem is the good games are games that she wants to watch. See what I'm saying? Like, she wants to see Mass Effect, she wants to see BioShock, she wants to see Arkham City.
But there's games that she won't want to watch. There's, like, more violent games or more, like...
like Duke Nukem.
Right,
Like, I can play Duke Nukem by myself. But
see, once again, though, I don't consider that a good game.
I mean, like...
It's a fine game that I also bought, but only because I wanted to get the achievements for it.
I'm just thinking, like, there is... And there is no game that I can specifically think of that would be a fill-only game that she wouldn't be interested in.
I like the category of fill-only game.
It's a fill-only game that she would not be interested in watching. There are games like, I will say, like XCOM. XCOM was a great game when it came out. I loved the crap out of it, but it was a terrible game to watch because it's turn-based. It's turn-based strategy, and then there's resource management aspect and stuff like that. That was a bad game to watch, which I loved, that I played 3 times through to get all the achievements, and, that was a great fill game. I can't think of a game that I own currently that fits this is a super great game, but it's a fill game only. Because I'm thinking, like, Assassin's Creed, which people either love it or hate it. I have Assassin's Creed 2.
That's fun to watch, though. Like, yeah.
That's a fun game to watch. Yeah. Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, both fun games to watch. Yeah, BioShock 1 and probably BioShock's Infinite are probably more fun games. BioShock 2, obviously, but I have to play one.
Some people are coming back around to it. Some people are saying, like, it was misunderstood and people like it now. I think it's because it was
the
like...
Indie,
it was
the indie crowd.
When it first came out, everyone was like, oh my god, this is great, I love it, because they didn't realize, just sort of the sequel... shock. The first time a game comes out, it's always you think it's better and stuff, and then you're like, wait, no, it's not.
Yeah.
So it was like everybody liked it when it first came out, then everybody hated it for a long time, and now it's like cool to be like, no, it's actually good again.
Yeah. But fill games have really just evolved into like arcade games. I wasn't say arcade games. U-Draw, U-Draw had a specific, like, Caitlin was out of town for 3 days. I was like, I can finish all my U-Draw games in 3 days. Yep. They're meant for children. Should just be able to knock these off the list.
They were harder than you thought, though.
Oh my god!
The problem with those games is because a lot of the kids' games come with those extra peripherals, and they are not made very well, or they do not, interact with the games well.
They're for kids.
So it's like it's supposed to be easy, and that's why you get super frustrated playing the kids' games because it's like, I stupid kid can do this. Why can't I do this?
Why can't I
go in the hole?
Why can't I rotate a U-Draw tablet to get a ball to go in a hole? Which is obviously the age-old question that I think we've all come across, but
which is really why we made this podcast. Like, that's really the question we're trying to answer.
U-Draw. There's still a U-Draw game I need to buy.
No, don't do it.
U-Draw Pictionary.
Don't do it.
Because I think that'd just be a fun party game.
So here's another thing too, where I got stuck in where my achievements are and me going back. I've not only played new games. I'm sorry, not only old games for achievements, but I play new games also. Yep. But I've sort of gotten the last 2-3 years. I've been focusing a lot of games that came out like 2006 and 2007 because I'm going back to when I first got the Xbox, and now I care about achievements where it's like I have to get everything, and it's like I'm trying to finish up all the Xbox things so I can get to Xbox One.
Yep.
But the problem is, I lost my train of thought because I got a phone call.
Your leg vibrating?
Yeah, my leg was vibrating, which is probably going to pick up in the mic anyways. What was I going to say? Oh, so when the 360 first came out, I would basically buy a lot of the new releases without doing much research into them because the games were pretty staggered. There'd be like 1 or 2 a month. So anytime a game would come out, I would just buy it. And then a lot of times they ended up being bad. So I'd buy the game, play it for an hour or 2, get 1 or 2 achievements, and then not play it again. So all my statistics now that I'm on TA, all the games from like 2006, 2007, I'd have like 2 to 5% in, which just kills me looking at that, all those statistics. So now I'm playing all the games that I hated 6-7 years ago. I've got to play them again just to get all the achievement points, and that's not fun anymore.
No.
I still have to do it because I have a problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's both of us. I mean, I think it really just boils down to, like, there's some addictive quality that we both share, that achievements mean something. And obviously, it depends on who you ask. A lot of people don't give a crap about it. They're just like, oh, I got one. Like Caitlin, when she plays, like, she wants to get them, but she won't go out of her way to get them. If she gets
which is the healthy way to play it, which is how it's supposed to be implemented.
Yeah, which is how it's supposed to be. But, like, I think Microsoft, I shouldn't be calling that Xbox.
Right.
Microsoft knew.
Oh, yeah, they did it. It was genius. It was a good idea. We all loved it, and it worked so well that it ruined my life, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Is it's so good that I care about it so much that I can't do anything. And they've been using it to their advantage the last couple of years. Once they figured it out, that's how they sell DLC. That's how they do everything.
What's crazy, though, is you think about it, like, if you were to put it on paper, it sounds like the stupidest idea in the world, because really it's an arbitrary number that means nothing in the world. There's one thing that relies on your actual score, your achievement score, and that's your Xbox Live rewards account. Right. But it's a completely arbitrary score. Besides you comparing with your friends,
which is what it is, though, because
it means nothing in the real world.
Because it's a couple of things. It's a completionist thing. It's a completionist thing. It's like, okay, I want to check all the boxes, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to make sure I do everything. I want to complete the whole game. Because before games had achievements, it's like you finish the game, and then sometimes they would have other unlockables. Like you're like, I want to unlock a costume, so I got to do this crazy thing, or I got to play on a harder difficulty. Yep. And that was the only incentive to continue to play over and over.
And that still worked for me.
Right.
No, I still had the addictive qualities. Yeah. Like I can look back and I can be like, I remember playing Star Fox for the 64, where it's like you had to get a certain score on each level just so you could unlock in multiplayer being able to play as people. Because you had your planes or you had your tanks. But if you got a certain score, you could change the intro screen, and you could play as people in multiplayer.
Right.
I still don't have any friends to play as people, but I still went crazy to
that was the thing.
Gotta do it.
It was a choice because you're like, oh, what are some incentives that I like that you can pick and choose? And also it was like kind of a more secretive fun thing. Like, oh, you gotta do this crazy set of, things before this happens. But now it's like very transparent. It's very clear what you're supposed to be doing. And you have to do all of them. That was the thing. With unlockables, you could be like, oh, this is cool. I want to do this. I want to try to get this unlockable. I want to do this hard thing to get this unlockable. But you weren't like, oh, I got to unlock everything all the time for everything. Or this game doesn't feel like I even finished playing it.
If I could pinpoint an exact moment in time for me where it became an issue, GoldenEye. Because GoldenEye, if you remember for the N64, you beat a level in a certain time on a certain difficulty, you got to cheat.
Yep.
And every level had one, if I remember correctly. There was a lot of cheats in that game. And I just remember, at first you play through the game and you're like, this was fun. And then you play multiplayer, and obviously it's an amazing multiplayer game, and it was heralded around the world, whatever. Around the world. Yeah. People in every country played it. All the ticker
tape parades for
like they just put the cartridge on a pillow, and then they'd hold it above their head while they walked Main Street. People would cheer and throw confetti, and it was amazing.
Right. The world was a different place.
It was so different. It was so simple back then. But I just remember looking at you beat this level in 5 minutes, but to get the cheat, it was 3 minutes.
Yep.
So just playing level after level over and over again to find out how to shave off time, to find out how to do quicker things. Of course, the internet existed. Like, I'm not going to say the internet didn't exist, but the thing was, like, it wasn't...
No.
I had a freaking 28K modem dial-up that was hooked into our phone line. It wasn't accessible easily, so you just had to do this on your own.
It was word of mouth, or if you subscribe to, like, magazines that help you give tips and stuff like that, which is, like, I did that, and it was, like, mainly word of mouth, though. It's like, oh, in, like, Doom 2, there's, like, this secret thing if you do this. And it was like, you try to figure it out yourself. You do everything you could in the game. You basically became, like, a quality assurance tester to find things, like you're exploring worlds. But see, that's something that enhances the gameplay. That's like you playing the game to perfect it is different than you doing something stupid that's not fun gameplay wise just to get an achievement.
I feel like it kind of coincides though, because I was trying to perfect GoldenEye to get a cheat so I could check that off my list.
I'm saying
like it was a different form of an achievement.
The means was different. Maybe the end was the same, but the means was different because it actually was like, hey, do something fun. Yeah. Which sometimes achievements do that, which is great. Sometimes it'll make you look at a level or a game or do something differently than you played it. But if it's like, oh, you have to play a 100-hour RPG 3 different times to get 3 different achievements because they all branch different ways, or it's like never kill somebody, or it's like kill everybody.
Yeah.
Then that's when it's like a little bit less fun. That specifically is not. I don't have a problem with that being like always kill somebody, don't kill somebody, because you are playing the game 2 different ways and it's more fun.
Yeah,
but it's like
collectibles.
Like if there was one thing I could get rid of games nowadays, it would be collectibles. Because there's so many freaking collectibles. I feel like
we should have a pet peeve episode.
I know. Well, this isn't fun anymore. It's I don't enjoy, like, even when I'm just achievement hunting, collectibles is always the worst. For a couple of reasons. One, because I always spoil the game for myself because I try to get the collectibles. I use a guide and I go through the first playthrough. So I watch the collectible guide or look at a collectible guide to be like, where is this going to be?
And you know what's coming up.
Because I don't want to have to go back and play it again.
I understand completely. Like, that's the whole thing is like, where achievements become, where, I mean, obviously, again, that I don't want to keep just promoting our name or this isn't fun anymore, but really that's where it comes in, because, like, you play a game and, like, initially you want to play a game and you just want the first playthrough to be blind. In a perfect world, you play through the game, you just play through the story, you get whatever. Let's say there's 50 achievements, you get 10 for beating it without on your own thing. But the problem is, you don't want to play through a large game multiple times if you don't have to.
Right.
Some games, some quick games, like I don't mind playing through, a couple levels here and there over and over again. But
if there's like mission select and you can just go directly there.
Yeah, but you don't want to.
Most games aren't like that. Like even like GTA 4, where it's like beat the entire game in under 30 hours. Well, if you didn't look at the achievements ahead of time before you started playing, that's not something you would have naturally done.
No, because there's way too much to do. There's
and the whole idea of the game is to take your time and explore everything and do all the side missions.
Well, they put in, I mean, like, if we're just talking GTA 4, they put in comedians, they put in Ricky Gervais and Cat Williams, they put in, like, you could watch them do a real quick stand-up. Yeah. You could, I mean, like, there's so much, like, you could go bowling, you can go on dates, you could, sex girls, like, the whole thing is, like, this is an open world, you can do whatever you want. But then, like you said, like, you look at that achievement, and it's the complete opposite of do whatever you want. Right. It's hit the story missions, and only the story missions, ignore everything else, beat the game as fast as you can. Skip all the cutscenes, because really, if you want, even if you watch all the cutscenes,
that's a couple hours right there. So,
like if you're really going for that, you're not even supposed to watch anything. So then, those are the games that are just like, haha, we put in an achievement on both sides. We put in an achievement just like get everyone to be your best friend, which requires you to play through the 900 hours of bowling with people.
Yep.
And we put one like have everyone hate your guts and beat the game in 10 minutes.
Yep.
It's like, oh, so you clearly want us to play through the game multiple times.
But, like, collectibles specifically do no longer, for the most part, don't enhance the game anymore. Collectibles used to be like, oh, if you collect all these things, it unlocks something. Or if you collect all these things, it tells a different story. But now it's like the collectibles are specifically for unlocking achievements. Because people know, okay, if we have an achievement for this, we can just put random collectibles where people have to go pick up a stone. And then why would that be in the game if it wasn't for the achievements? And the answer is almost no reason.
No, there are very, 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 very few games where the collectibles are maybe like an audio log, which at least gives you some backstory to the game.
Or like gives you a code for a door.
Or gives you code for a door or something like that. I mean, like, and there's some like, and the ones that I can think of off the top of my head is like Fable 2 has like a collectible, like get all the special weapons, which is at least something you can use.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like the game that I think is, and of course I'm sorry that I'm 10 years behind the trend, so all my references are going to be old games, but the game that I can think of that is the worst about it is Alan Wake.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking of too. When
because
I was
Alan Wake
rocks, it's like the pyramid cans.
Yeah.
And it's like the other thing. The manuscripts make sense because it has to do with the story.
Yeah,
and it tells you information on there. Like if you read it, it kind of spoils it because it's always about what's going to just happen.
What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
But it's all story related.
Which
so
the manuscripts were fine, and because they were easier to find. But it was like find the coffee thermoses and shoot the stupid pyramid cans. That was that game, right? To shoot the pyramid cans.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was another one too. I want to say there was another one.
It was like, and like the worst culprit right now is Dead Rising 3, because there's like 154 collectibles just for the main game, and then every DLC that it comes out with, there's like 4 or 5 achievements just locked to getting collectibles. It's like they just throw things around the world.
I definitely feel like
just run back and forth to pick things up, and it's not even like you're doing hard things. It's not even like you have to do like skill jumps to get somewhere or like puzzle solving.
Halos where like the skulls were actually required. Like, oh, you got to figure out where they are and do some skill jumps and stuff like that. But I agree with you. I think now it's a throwaway because I think like you said, everyone is cognizant that the fact that they have to add achievements into everything.
Yeah.
If you look back on super old games, like launch title games, they didn't know what to do with achievements.
Yes, super old games like 8-9 years ago. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but I'm saying like when achievements.
Well, then it was 10 achievements and they were all worth 200 points.
Yeah,
which
I mean,
doesn't
like,
add up, but yeah.
Yeah, you look at a game like like old sports games where it's just like score a bucket and you got one and stuff like that. They really just didn't know how to space it. But now games, they're just like, shit, we need to total up 1,000 points and we need to prolong the length of our game.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And so they're just like, let's just toss in collectibles. Let's make them have to go in search of 500 rings that they have to collect, and each one is in a crazy possible place that you'd never just stumble on your own.
Right.
So you have to pretty much use a guide. And then you'll get an achievement that's worth 10 points.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They artificially are padding the length of their game because just the way that game development is now, it's like games are shorter, games are faster. They just want you to buy another game and get their DLC. They're not like, they don't want to make, they're like the Skyrims are few and far between now.
Yeah, and I feel like Skyrim even of itself is just like, there's not really a story.
No,
tying everything together.
You make your
own
threes
story
and stuff like that. Yeah. Like there hasn't been a game like that. Even New Vegas wasn't even like that. Where
no, Fallout 3 compared to New Vegas is still worlds apart in my opinion. Yeah. It's still like the same. Like obviously, like oh look at this cool shit I can do in both of them, but still like Fallout 3 was much more.
And the whole story about New Vegas was super short because there was all these different paths and they wanted to play you a bunch of times. It was like okay, you can beat the entire game in like 2 hours maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that was the thing too of like always looking up achievements now ruins games for me for a lot of reasons. Because one, it spoils things. Two, it's like the first time I'm playing it, I've already seen a video of where a collectible is, or I've already seen a screenshot. Like I'm just going to pick collectibles up. I'm not paying attention to anything else. I'm not enjoying the story. I'm just getting the achievements, and that's why it was so nice when Walking Dead Season 1 came out. And you got all the achievements for just playing through the episode. Yep. That was so nice because not only was it a fun game to just enjoy and sit through and like just go with it, I was like, I never have to look at the achievements. I don't have to look at the achievements. I don't have to worry about anything. I can just sit down and enjoy the game, and it was so great and so nice. Of course, they changed that for like Wolf Among Us and Walking Dead Season 2, where it's like
there's a branching path.
It's like you have to make decisions, and you can't do them both.
But see, like I feel like, and again, those are kind of. Each Walking Dead and each Wolf Among Us was really a 2-hour playthrough. Where it's like if you could play through it a second time real quick to hit that other branching path.
Which is fine.
And then you'd be fine.
I'm fine with that too. If you're going to have branching stories and it's short enough and you want people to play other things, you could do that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it was so, like, I would still look it up because, like, Wolf Among Us specifically, it was like you have to go to things a certain order sometimes, otherwise you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to know what the order is.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I imagine that a lot of people will not share the same sentiment with us about getting achievements. And I know a lot of people are saying, and when I say a lot of people, I mean the 4 viewers that we have. But of the 4 viewers,
I don't know. Are you counting the 2 of us?
I'm counting the 2 of us. I'm counting 2 of us. Okay, so 2 of the 4 viewers that we have are probably telling like, why don't you just not pay attention to that? Why don't you just not focus on achievements? And then why don't you just enjoy games like The Walking Dead and just play through games and not care and blah blah blah? Which is a great in theory, but what I'm saying is like. It's at a point where it's an addiction.
It's partially an addiction. It's partially an obsession. It's partially, like I said, the whole idea of why Gamerscore is fun, I think, and it matters, is because it's like the high score. Like, why does high score on an old arcade machine matter? It's like you can put your initials there, you can be the high score, you can rank yourself against strangers that you're never going to see, but people still cared about the high score. And it's kind of like that thing. What if you could have a running total of all your high scores for every game you ever played? It's like, yeah, I want that. I want to know everything I've done. It's it's like a resume. It's like a gaming resume of all literally your achievements that you've done, everything that you've unlocked, all the things you can do. And like another thing, bring it back to TAs. That's why it's fun that you can have a little trophy case. Be like, hey, these are the games I completed that I'm proud of. These are the achievements, like Gears of War. Like I beat the first Gears of War. I got every achievement on that game legitimately. I didn't boost a single game. I played with a bunch of friends all the time.
And for those who may not know what boosting is, is when you strictly set up a match for people who are going for an achievement.
Right.
So you just you purposely lose 100 games so your friend could get an achievement, and then they lose 100 games for you to get achievement, and it's just like, go kill me real quick so this match can end.
You're not playing a real opponent that's trying to actually complete the game. You're purposely just getting an achievement. So both of you are just doing one specific act. Both teams are have one goal, and that's not to win the game. It's to get an achievement.
Yeah.
So when you boost, you're not doing things legitimately.
You're not playing the game the way the game was meant to be played.
And sometimes
which some people view as cheating,
problem
which is fine.
The problem is there's so many games that have hard achievements now that if you aren't super skilled or don't want to spend 1,000 hours playing the game, you're required to boost. And that's another thing too. Like, the companies have kind of screwed us over with these achievements they've chosen sometimes.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, because I will admit that in my old age, my ripe old age
of like 22
of 22, is that I cannot compete with the teenagers who play certain games. And I will say, like, it's strictly like it's a first-person shooters kill me.
Right, it's all the Twitch games.
You're good at first-person shooters.
Yeah.
I am not. I can compete with the computer.
Well, that's because I've played like 100,000 hours of first-person shooters.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so when they put like a multiplayer achievement where they're just like, get 20 headshots in a row without dying, that is something that is completely impossible for me. And I understand that initially achievements were supposed to be like, you can do this and your friend can't.
Yeah.
And that's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
But when you have this, I don't want to call it an addiction again, but when you have this thing of just like, if I was to get 99% of the achievements and that was the only one I couldn't get, that wouldn't make me go, well, I'm just going to have to train to get better. That's going to make me go, like, I need to find some friends who will just let me headshot them over and over and over again without killing me, so that I can complete this game and put it back on my shelf, and it can get dusty, and then I can just say, like, I got 100%.
Because there's no way to tell. There's no way to tell if you got it legitimately or not, and it kind of ruins it for people that did do it, but that's fine, because you don't care. And it doesn't. And like I said, there's no way to tell, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
No. But I mean, that's the whole issue of, just like you said, like, companies kind of try and screw you over, because there are games, and the one that I can think of is like Unreal Tournament 3. Is that the one we have?
Yeah.
Where it's like win 500 games online,
that's not a skill-based thing. I mean, it sort of is, but it's like, play this game forever. We want our game to be played for a long time by a lot of people, so we're just going to require you. Or there was the one like in Crisis 1 or 2 where it was like, no, it was Crisis 2, yeah. It was like, play a game 6 months after your first game. So they purposely just wanted you to keep playing the multiplayer game so it would have legs. So the achievement was strictly like,
keep playing.
Just keep playing.
Yeah. But like, those are the ones that are just like, yeah, if you're great and you can win, 500 out of 550 games, great. Yeah. Dust yourself off, you're a champion of the world, and you sit down and you never have to worry about it. But especially if you get a game that's after launch, where the online's kind of dead, or like me, when you get it 5 years after launch and the online's really dead, that's something that's not even feasible. If there's people still playing it, chances are they're really good, because there's something about when you get really good at a game that I've learned
that you play forever,
that people never stop playing that game.
Yeah.
And the example that I can think of is
Kane and Lynch.
No, I was gonna say Saints Row.
Oh,
Kane and Lynch is. We'll talk about Kane and Lynch.
Those a-holes that have been on the top of the leaderboards and play it just so other people can't get the achievement, not because they like playing the game.
Yeah, no, those people are jackasses.
Yeah.
Those are people who are literally like, I'm gonna prevent people from getting this, and they literally have like. I mean, I freaking looked into this. They have like 30 accounts each. Oh, yeah. They just play against their own accounts.
Because they changed the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they knew those guys were doing that.
Yeah.
And so then the guys just changed. So the thing was, there's this one achievement where it says be on the top of the leaderboard for the multiplayers, which is like, not just your friends, it's like you gotta be in the top of everybody playing the game, which was near impossible. So a couple of guys that were really good.
Not just one achievement. It's be on the top and be the second.
Yeah.
So you have to be 1 and 2. If you somehow skipped 3 to 1,
you still had to somehow
to drop to 2, but still like not drop too far. But continue.
But so that's an achievement that everybody needs to get if you want to complete the game. And a couple of guys that were really good, I don't know if it was just one guy or a whole group of guys, were like, they didn't want other people to get the achievements, so they constantly were playing the game all the time, so they'd always be number one. You couldn't compete with them.
Yep.
And so then they changed the rule like a year or two ago, where it was like there was like it got reset every day or week or something.
They reset it once. They reset it
they
once.
Just did that one time?
They only did it once. They reset it once, and they're just like, hey, a lot of people have been writing us and telling us that there are a bunch of D-bags that are sitting on the top, so we're going to reset it, and all their stuff's going to be crappy. And initially the thought was just like, once it gets reset, those guys are clearly just going to move on.
Nope.
Because the initial promise was that they were going to reset it every month. So the rule was that those D-bags who wanted to be at the top would have to keep only playing that game every month, starting from 0 wins, 0 losses. And it would be a constant battle for them. It'd make it difficult. Problem is, they only reset it the one time. So then those guys hopped on at midnight.
Yeah.
Got back up at the top. A couple people snuck in.
Yeah,
they were playing at the same time.
But a handful of people out of thousands that have won it.
So then those people got back to the top, and then they're just at the top again, and they're still playing their like keep away game. Which, you know what? If you want to dedicate your life to playing Kane and Lynch, whatever. Like, you've made a lot of wrong choices in your life. That like when Xbox One and PS4 are out, you're still just like, Kane and Lynch 1, this is my jam. I'm only going to play this with the 40 accounts that I'm paying for, because you have to pay for the most, live accounts. And then you just move on. But what I was going to say is like games that people get good at and they never move on. Saints Row 1 that I completed recently, like within the last year. There's already Saints Row 4 out. And they're probably going to make a Saints Row 5 for Xbox One, right?
Yeah, I mean, nothing announced, but it's just they're assuming,
Yeah. Saints Row 1, obviously the bare bones, very basic of this game. There's still an online community that's playing it. But the thing is, they've all just found like how to glitch it and how to use mods and how to cheat. And you're just like, what enjoyment are you getting out of this game anymore? Because no one is playing this game. Like, you have to, like... You get lucky if you find a random person that just happened to buy this game.
Modders.
You're just playing with other modders, and you're just sitting there, and you're just like, haha, no one can die because we're all invincible and we all have unlimited ammo. And then you just happen to stumble upon the one group of people who are just like, I'm going to try and beat this game. And then you just make them cry and hate their life. And I guess it's the same thing of like trolls on an internet forum where you're just like, you get enjoyment.
That's the problem, though.
You get enjoyment out of people hating your guts, which is fine, whatever. Again, you've made some terrible choices in your life.
Yeah.
But just like, you'd think like so many people would move on at each generation. You play a Madden game, when the next Madden comes out, you gotta expect that initial group, maybe by 50%, is gonna move on.
Yeah.
And then when the 2 years out, another 50%. And you get to the point where you're just like, what are you people holding out for? Because clearly you're not doing what we're doing, where we're just like trying to beat a game and get an achievement. You're playing, you only have like 2 achievements in this game, and they're all the online ones.
Yep.
And you're just playing to just be a dick.
Yep.
And you're just like, what is your goal
that's the thing.
here?
You can't ever compete with this people. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, they're just there to ruin everyone's life, and they're not happy either. There's no way they're having fun doing that.
No, and that's the thing is that I wonder is like, video games are supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be playing these games.
So we've been told.
Obviously, me and you have a different outlook because we're going for achievements. But like the people who don't care about achievements, that are still playing video games that they're not enjoying. Those people playing Kane and Lynch aren't stoked to fire it up every night.
That's the problem with people like that. They think they're so great. Like, they're so happy with themselves that they're achievement blocking these people.
Yeah.
That they like that just...
That's just the self-satisfaction that they need.
They love just causing dread and trolling other people.
Yeah. But it's just like, it's one of those things where just like, I mean, whatever. Like, I eventually, and it takes some time, but like I can eventually just shut down an achievement in my head and just be like, that's not going to be beatable. I have Kane and Lynch. I know I'm never going to be 1 and 2.
No.
That to me is just, they've just become unobtainable.
Right.
And I can just move on and I can go, I'm only going to get 98% of this game.
Doesn't that feel so nice, though? When you finally have the power to let go an achievement or a game and be like, I'm just never going to finish it. And it's so much nicer. It's like, it's so much weight lifted off you that you didn't even realize was there.
It's sad because a lot of the games where like that has to come into play is games where they actually shut down the online. And then I'm just like, shit, I never got to that game. I never played it. So I'm always going to be at 99 or 95 or whatever it is. But like you said, it's a weight off your shoulders. But it takes too long for me to get there.
But the problem is they have to take it out of your hands. You can't decide on your own, because you're like, if I have the possibility to get this achievement, no matter how hard or how ridiculous, I'm going to try to get it. and that's the problem.
But technically, like, Kane Lynch is gettable. You'd have to find a reliable group of friends who are willing to play every day, who are allowed to let you win every single time until you get to the top, and then vice versa. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you're just like, technically it's achievable. You can do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, no way in hell is anyone... I'm not willing to pour in 100+ hours
just for this one achievement
into a shitty game to get one. I'll pour 100 hours into a single player game. Yeah. Because it's just like...
when you're actually doing something different, too.
I'll eventually get to it.
Yeah.
Like, I might not get to it right now, but I'll eventually get to it, and it can never be taken away from me. But one that I have to constantly keep playing, like, every week so I don't lose a place is just like, forget it.
Here's another thing, too. What if when they turn off the servers for Xbox Live for the 360 or whatever, what if you can't then unlock achievements? What if your achievements aren't adding up anymore, and you don't have BioShocks or Mass Effects or all that stuff?
You know what? Honestly, I feel like it'll just become... I'll just get to play for fun again.
Right. You kind of want that to happen. That's what I'm saying.
I'll get to harken back to the day of Super Nintendo where there wasn't anything but playing the game, and then I'll play BioShock one time through, and I'll be like, wow, that was an amazing game. Yeah. And I won't have to kill 900 dudes with a fingernail clipping or whatever, some of them are, like, do this. I'll just get to play it, and I'll just get to move on.
Right. It'll be a video game again.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason... why you've gone to Xbox One, because obviously that's the system you chose, the one you're just like, I play Xbox 360 the most, it makes sense for me to go to Xbox One. I like the properties, I like Halo, I like Gears of War. Yeah. I mean, so you've made a choice.
It's the achievements, though. It's the achievements. Honestly, that's what it was like, not even a question in my mind that I had to at least get an Xbox One. Yeah. Because I had put so much time, so much effort into building up my achievement score in the 360. I can't just throw that away now. If I can continue to build on that and make that my legacy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Like, why would I stop now? And that's the thing. Every Xbox One game that I've played, I have 100% completion on. And some of those games, like not Killer
easy.
Instinct,
Killer Instinct wasn't
like
easy for you.
There was some hard stuff on there.
Yeah, I'm not.
And like getting 240 challenges on Peggle 2 and things like that, and
some of those
golf games, which I like, they're fun games, but there are hard grinding achievements that I've completed.
I think it's only going to get worse.
But see, now that's the thing. What I was sort of starting to say before is with the 360 is I used to buy all the games that came out because they came out slower, and then more and more games came out. I couldn't keep up with it. Yeah. And that's kind of what is going to happen with you. Like, you can't keep up with the good games anymore because you've got so many bad games. There's so many games come out. You got to pick and choose now which games you play. Yes. And I knew that going in now, where it's like I still played a larger majority of the games than usual because I was like, there's not a lot to play right now.
Yeah, Xbox One is still slow. Like, but once it picks up, you have to make a choice.
I was like, I'm not going to play a game if I can't get 100% on it. Like, that's how I've been the last 3 years.
See, and that's what I'm afraid of getting to, is that I will still, my theory is that if a game is still enjoyable, I will still play it regardless of the fact that I know that I can't get all the achievements. There were a couple games that I bought that's been out forever that they already closed the online servers, and I I was just like, I want to play this game, so I will play it, and I will get my 50%, and I will be done, and I can move on. And I will never let myself get to a point where I won't play a great game if there's something. But like, if let's say Arkham City had one achievement that was, they just came out and they were just like, sorry, we programmed this wrong. No one can unlock it. 0%. But it's always going to be on your list as something.
For everyone. Yeah.
Arkham City, and I know, is a great game. I've played enough of it, which is 5 minutes, to know that I love the crap out of it. Yeah. But just like, I know that if they still did that, I'd still play the game because it's just like, it's so great that I can't miss it.
That's the thing. But that's taking it out of your hands. Like, you can't get the achievement.
But I'm saying, like, if an Xbox One game came out and you were super excited, but let's say it's Halo 5, right? Yeah. And so Halo 5 comes out.
I'm gonna be able to get all the achievements, but yeah.
But I'm saying, like, Halo 5 comes out and you buy it day one. Let's say you go out of town, wherever, you can't open it. Yeah. You can't play it. And a week goes by, and then you find out, like, Halo 5 has 3 unobtainables. Just they really dropped the ball. They couldn't, and they're not going to patch it.
They kind of did that for Halo 4, by the way. Can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
When 343 took over for Halo Reach, I believe, and they started changing the playlist, some of the achievements became unobtainable because you had to be a specific map or a specific game mode, and they were changing the playlist so you couldn't get those achievements anymore, and they never fixed them. You would think their flagship game, and it's like owned by Microsoft, that's the one thing they do is Halo stuff, and they messed up achievements for their own game. They did it for 4 also.
Yeah.
Where you couldn't get the achievements anymore because it's like you got to play this map, and that map was only available in one game mode that they rotated out of the playlist.
Yeah. They put in the Disney Vault.
They
put in the Disney Vault.
Yeah.
You gotta wait till they bring it out. But I'm saying, like, Halo 5 comes out. You haven't started it, so it's not loaded in your card, and you find out that out of the 50, 3 of them completely unobtainable.
But if nobody can get them, that's fine.
Then that's fine to you?
If nobody can get them, yeah. If even if like 5 people have
so you'll still play that on your main card,
yeah.
and it'll just always be a 97% out of 100. You won't be like, I need to play this on my second card because I don't want this ruining.
And that's another thing too. I like that's the thing that I should have figured out a long time ago, which I've started to do recently, because before I did sort of care about overall score as well, and I still do, but that was like more my main goal years ago when I first started playing. But now it's more statistics. Now it's more completion percentage, because that's kind of the great equalizer. Is because like, you might not have 3,000 games like some of the other people out there, but if like you have a higher completion percentage, you're like, okay, I'm better than you.
I beat these 10 games 100%, but you beat these 50 games 5%.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So my way of getting around my whole like problem with statistics and completion percentages is I only started like this week. Is like I went back to my old gamer card, my other account that I've had all these years. So if I want to play a game or if I want to try something out now, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm not going to wait to finish another game. I'm not going to.
But you still play it on a different card, though.
I'm playing on the other card to just play it and have fun. And if I like it,
then you'll play it again.
I'll play it back on my second account, which is really my primary account at this point.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like that. Like you have a second card, so you can still play games, which is great. What I'm getting at is just like there'll never be a game that I don't put on my card because I'm afraid that I won't be able to complete it. Like, I can think of now, there are a couple games I put on my card that are just impossible. Like Death Smiles, I think it's called Death Smiles. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like essentially you're the plane. It's one of the old school games where you're just a plane shooting, going left to right, shooting a bunch of monsters.
Okay.
Whatever.
Is it an arcade game, I'm assuming?
No, it's a full scale game.
Oh, really?
And it came out in Japan first, and I think they ported it to 360.
Yeah.
But there's an achievement, and I've looked it up just because it's got the highest freaking ratio in the world. It's like a 19, where it's like, you need to beat this many levels without getting hit, and this many levels without losing a life, and then you have to purposely die here, and they something impossible where like they have a video of one guy doing it in Japan, and you have to memorize where bullets are. Like, you have to just be like, there's a gap that's only wide enough for your plane, and you have to somehow fit your plane in this gap to do this, whatever. Something impossible. Like, I just know that it's a game I'll never complete. Like Child of Eden for the Kinect. You have to play the game and hit bad guys in the rhythm of the song, which means you have to memorize the rhythm of the song first, and then launch your attacks in accordance.
Which, honestly, I think is easier than the Gunstringer one.
Which is probably easier than the Gunstringer one, but it's just
I knew that achievement going in, and I still played the game. So there's that. Like, there's times where I'm like, I see achievements that are super hard, but I guess it's because I'm never like, oh, I'm never going to get that. It's more like, oh, this is going to be a pain to get. Like, I'm always convinced that I'm going to be able to do it. It's just going to take a lot of work.
Initially, that was for
me,
but
sometimes I do give up on it and move on to something else.
Yeah, I mean, initially I was just like, oh, I can get anything. But then I think, and what kind of helped is just like, you play enough games where you kind of just know your skill. And, and you're just like, I still want to play this game, I just know that I'll never get it. And it's I guess it's a slow transition. When I first joined TA, it was the aspect of like, I'm going to get my number up to 100%. Yeah. I don't care what games I've played in the past. I don't care what games I'm going to play in the future. I'm going to get every goddamn achievement. And then it just becomes a point where you're just like, I'm going to get to 90% and I'm going to be happy because I'm just, A, there's so many unobtainables, and there's two, just like, I'm not going to play Child of Eden for 90 hours to memorize songs, to launch okay, it's every 4 seconds is the beat.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go
I don't want to be that guy.
yeah. There's people who've done it, and I tip my hat to them, just man, that's amazing. I can't believe you spent that time. But I know that it's just never going to be plausible for me.
Right. That's another aspect.
But I wouldn't, because I know Child of Eden is such a, I've been told, it's such a great visceral game that it's one of the good Kinect games. That wouldn't also be enough to deter me from not playing the game. I'll put it on my card, and if my card's always just Phil, you only got 20% of the achievements, I'm just well, okay, I enjoyed the game. It was fun.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is that's just kind of my safety net right now. That's my way of slowly getting over it. That's my stepping stone to going back to just playing games to play games. So if that's the thing. I just want to play the game now. I don't care. I'll play it on my other card, and if I don't even get the achievements, if I don't get the points for it on my primary card, then I don't even care. No. Sometimes. So that's like I said, I'm trying to just sort of change the way I play again. I'm trying to make it fun again.
Yeah. And I feel like we should probably wrap up.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'd say obviously, what the moral of this episode comes down to is that obviously
we're supposed to have morals.
We're supposed to have morals. We're supposed to have morals. I would say that. We got off on a little tangent.
Here's the thing. No, it's
our podcast is about This Isn't Fun Anymore. Kind of stems from us playing video games because we love video games so much, but at the same time hate the little stuff that they do. And in this case, we're playing games for achievements that we don't want to collect 900 coffee cups in Alan Wake to get 10 points.
That's a lot our fault. It's the game's fault. The way games have changed. But yeah, and that's the thing too. I think. Not that we're really going to have a goal to this podcast, but one of the things that I think we should try to get into is making it fun again. How do we make these games fun again? Yeah,
and obviously, if, let's say, in my case, if we post all these podcasts and people are going back and they're starting at the first one, feel free to send us your stories, your tips, your tricks. We have a bunch of stuff that we actually you can reach out to us on.
So yeah, like I said before, we have the website, thisisn'tfunnanymorepodcast.com. We have a Twitter account, which is @notfunpodcast.
We have an email?
Yeah, we have an email, which is thisisn'tfunnanymorepodcast@gmail.com. And also, if you go to the website, you can just hit the contact us, and it'll send us an email that way too. But yeah, send us questions, concerns, suggestions.
Yeah. If there's a topic you want us to cover, if there's a news story that you're just hey, I kind of feel like you guys should talk about this, we will certainly do it or look into it. Obviously, if all of a sudden it's a news story about hey, they released a new Barbie, that's not really our jam.
But so. If you want to, we'll talk about it. If you're the only person that writes it, we'll probably talk about it. And that's another thing too. This episode was more freeform, and we were just kind of getting everything out there. We had a lot of things to say. We wanted to talk about just why we play games and achievements in general. But the rest of the podcast, we're probably going to be a little bit more structured. We're going to talk about news. We're going to talk about what games we're playing. We're going to talk about trends in gaming in general. So
and we'll kind of have overarching themes. We might not do an episode of news. We might do but
I'm saying we'll do a new segment. Then we'll do what games we're playing. Well, I'm saying there'll be more structure to it rather than just two guys yelling at each other for
about
90 minutes.
Achievements and promoting a bunch of different websites that we don't have any ties to.
Yeah. And also, I was gonna give a fake promotion to a real thing that don't give us money to advertise.
Sure,
I stopped myself.
Corona is doing pretty good business right about
now. They're sponsoring the hell out of this podcast right now.
In fact, they've sponsored it numerous times.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys, for listening to the first episode of This Isn't Fun Anymore podcast, and we hope you guys tune in to the next one.
Yeah, and at some point we'll have a sign-off. We'll have a cool slogan.
Yeah, it'll be something how's that cat's pajamas?
How's that cat's pajamas,
Yeah,
guys?
everything.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Take it easy.